Well, welcome
Okay.
everybody to Voices from Small Places. I'm Kelly Snowden, and the team consists of myself, Linda Reynolds, who is the director of the East Texas Research Center, and Dr. Perky Weisel, who is a public historian from SFA. And we're going to walk you through this project and how it's assembled. This project is a multidisciplinary project. We all bring different talents and tools to it, and we work together to preserve a small community's history by documenting its archival, its documents, paperwork, artifactual things you can hold, and cultural resources, its landscapes. And we build collections, and we work actively with the community and a community liaison, always ensuring we are meeting their needs first. We work with communities that have less than 100 residents. We had to define what a small place is. And after looking at a lot of different sources, we landed on this definition. Currently, the communities we have worked with actually have less than 50 residents. The communities that we work with a community liaison, and this is someone who lives in the area, who has deep roots within it, and is not only willing to share their stories and artifacts and family heirlooms, but is capable of bringing the community together in this project. Perky?
Yes, so we, as you'll see, utilize a lot of different practices from our training, whether that's archival, historical, oral history, geography, and the social work and preservation and CRM approaches. We always follow best practices, and we share those practices with the community so that they know what we're doing, as well as what they can do in the future. And many of them, this is a learning environment for them as well. When we are all said and done, the community members keep their materials. This is not a collecting process, but rather a sharing process over an extended amount of time. And we are doing our part to ensure that the materials that they share with us, letters, photographs, and those types of materials, are stored in a way, archivally acceptable way for long-term preservation.
The first method that we use to literally lay the groundwork for the project is photo voice. This was actually pioneered for use in identifying public health issues in communities. What we do here is we give our volunteers cameras and journals, and we ask a set of guiding questions. For example, what landscapes are important to you and why? And we ask them to take photos and explain to us why that place is important. This is a fairly long process and involves a great deal of commitment on the part of the volunteers, but the results are always outstanding. When we get the journals and the photos back, the text is of course transcribed and matched to the pictures. The photo on your screen is from Jake Keeling, who was our community liaison for the Merval Creek communities. And this is a photograph of a structure that was built in the 1930s and is currently still in use. It has a long history. He talks about how his grandfather kept his saddle horse there on bad weather days when he was in school at Jumbo. And it's still used every year on the first Sunday in May for the Jumbo Cemetery homecoming. So we are attaching memory to place. Sorry, it's perfectly all right. Another example, if you just saw this picture and it's this bumpy looking tree, you wouldn't know, why is this important? Well, Mr. Vance from Arcadia explains to us that this is the toothache tree and it's linked to home remedies. And if you chew a little twig off this tree, it's going to numb the inside of its mouth, of your mouth. And he relates this to us. Something in the tree would deaden the inside of your mouth to relieve toothache. I think this is interesting and wonder what other plants around here were used as remedies. I speak from personal experience, having spent 30 years in East Texas. You chew a twig from the toothache tree, your whole mouth is going to tingle and go numb. So, all right. We might also get photos of an empty field that we would just drive by and not think twice about. But Jake, again, from the Merville Creek Communities, tells us that this big field has gone through various changes. It's now pasture land, but prior to that, it was used for cotton farming. And he talks about how his great grandfather farmed nearly all the open ground around the home place, and how his grandfather has stories about plowing and picking cotton to the mule breaking ground, and how he currently has fed cattle there in the winter for most of his life. So this is an ongoing landscape. Photo Voice is literally the foundation of the project. We connect memories to a specific place, and we allow our communities to develop their own narrative.
So after Photo Voice, we look through the photo voices and see what people are talking about. And from there, then we have questions we could start asking those community members. So we do an oral history project with community members while they're doing a cemetery homecoming or a one-on-one. During this whole process, we have forms that they sign saying that we are allowed to then make their oral histories available online. And sometimes we find some really interesting things, like Miss Mary Dunn here. She's going to talk about when the New London school explosion happened.
We were out here, the garden was right here, and Margaret and I were planting onions in the spring, and that we heard that blast. Yeah. And we couldn't imagine what it was. It was just so loud. We knew something awful had happened, but we didn't know. Well, we didn't have telephones, and we didn't know how. But Daddy went to the store, because there's a little store down there, and that was kind of the gathering place to get the news. And anyhow, he learned that it was the New London school explosion.
As with oral histories, this is the time we can get a personal firsthand account of an event, and we may never have known about this. It's not something, it's so when we listen to it, we can hear their emotions of what's going on and kind of get a feeling of what it was like for them during that particular time period. And when we do these interviews, we're always trying to be respectful with the person that we're interviewing. And we, besides doing just audio interviews like we did with Miss Dunn, we also did some photographs, but we also do videos, because that helps really tell a larger story when you see what's going on. So the image on the right-hand side is when we were in the Arcadia community, and they were showing us the dipping vats that they had on the property. So doing an interview with them, and then on the right side, we were at a store in the Merville Creek area. And now, Mr. Wayne Tips, he's a fun man.
We have a 2 weeks revival. That was something. And we'd hook a team up. Mom and Daddy would ride. Sometimes we'd run along beside the wagon, while we was cutting up. And you could be up there, maybe come up a cloud, somebody have cotton in the field or hay, dismiss church, everybody take off. And get everybody's cotton in or corn or whatever was out there. Whatever they needed, get it done. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You find somebody to do that now. Mm-hmm. It ain't that way no more.
Yeah, so some of the interesting things with certain parts of the country is there's some folks that have a slightly deeper accent. And so we also transcribe these oral histories. So when we put the oral histories online, you can listen to it and you can read about it, and you can then also watch them through a video, which is just giving you a nice, well-rounded documentation of this person's story.
We also work to document the built environment, the landscape, the fields, the fences, the silos, the houses, the churches, or in this case, the Masonic Lodge and
2 minutes.
Central Building. Because these were small rural communities, everybody didn't come from way away. They came within a 5-mile radius. And so we document everything that you can see, from whether it's a dirt, gravel, or paved road. And we utilize the materials and the resources that have been standardized through the National Park Service, and in our case, the forms developed by the Texas Historical Commission. And what we get is a wonderful documentation of the current condition and of those resources, what may need to be done in the future. It helps us work with the community to identify potential grants and other funding, because our goal is to assist the community as they work to preserve their history. And we're also able to explain the value of many of these everyday resources that may be discounted by others. And so we also do the background research if needed. And although most of the time there hasn't been much historic preservation work in the area. And once again, we make sure that everything that we produce, the forms as well as the photographs, are available for the community and other researchers.
Okay, one of the things we also do is a community collection where we borrow community members' materials and scan them and digitize them and put them online. The community members will retain the ownership of the actual physical item. We just get a digital copy of those things. It could be photographs, letters, diaries, school records, things that help document people and the community itself. And we put it all online for free through the East Texas Digital Archive.
So in summary, we do this
Please
because of
proceed
our
to
love.
your next class.
Okay.
Keep going, finish.
Okay. We pursue this project because we love working with these small communities. And the better we understand these small places and put them back into the larger historical narrative, the better we understand our own heritage.